Is Lia Hollander. You may sit down again. Thank you. And I'm here with Bekki Witt of TriMet, which is the public transportation company for Portland, Oregon, and Jeremy Bertrand from WSDOT, which is the Washington State Department of Transportation. And I'll just be asking questions of them. And I just wanted to also mention that Vancouver, Washington we're situated in a very interesting way. We are right at the end of Washington, right at the beginning of Oregon. So it's sort of impossible to live in Vancouver, Washington without going to Portland at least once a week. So I am often on the highways in Washington, and then I get on the Max in Portland. So we work together. So, okay, so my first question is going to be for Jeremy, and I will sit in a moment. Okay, so Jeremy, why and how are you using social media for the Washington Department of Transportation?
So, hello everybody, how are you? So I work for the Washington State Department of Transportation. We manage and maintain the state highway system and ferry and aviation system for Washington State. We are on Twitter and use it for all sorts of different reasons. One, for real-time information for what's happening right now regarding road closures, weather information. One for planning purposes for, hey, by the way, the road's going to be closed tonight. You don't want to go this way. Or, by the way, traffic is really bad. Stay at work for a little bit. So we found all sorts of amazing real-time and long-term uses for it. Go ahead.
Hi again, I'm Bekki Witt. I'm with TriMet, which is the public transit agency in Portland. We operate light rail, bus, and commuter rail there in Portland. And how we use Twitter and why we use Twitter, or social media rather, is mostly to push information out. Positive stories, promotions, events, that kind of thing. But we also do, as Jeremy mentioned, a lot of real-time stuff as we have service disruptions. A train is due off, had a mechanical problem or something like that. We need to let riders know what's going on. So we've used Twitter primarily for that. Facebook more for the pushing out of events, announcements, and that kind of thing.
And Bekki, what's been your biggest challenge using social media on behalf of TriMet?
Well, we have a couple of challenges, actually. Probably the biggest one is resources, and that's just having the personnel available to monitor and use primarily Twitter again. We just have limited resources, and with the kind of 24/7 nature of our job, of what TriMet does, it's really challenging to have all that coverage. I think a couple of other things are being a public agency. There's that kind of balance between being transparent or trying to be transparent as possible, and then also kind of the legal restrictions and things we can't say or can't remove posts from Facebook and that kind of thing, that kind of equity thing. And then again, too, the balancing of social media with the other channels we have. We have 14,000 riders subscribing to emails from us, from our website. We have 2 million calls a month, calls and texts for real-time transit information, arrival times, and that kind of thing. So we've got these channels that people are really using, and then we've got 5,000 followers on Twitter. So really trying to balance what channels to put our focus on.
Same question, Jeremy. Jeremy, say it again.
No, that's all right. So biggest challenges. So number one probably is content curation. It's really funny. Nobody really responds to you unless you talk to them. But how do you come up with that original content, right? I mean, let me pose something for you. Like if I got up right now and took a picture of the center of the audience, because no one's done this. This is original content. Hold on. Just a second. All right. Say cheese. Now, it might go viral for this section, but it won't meet the needs of that section or that section, right? So how do you make sure you have original content that meets the needs of a statewide audience? When you have local cities or people who just need to go, I need just to get from here to here, do I really need to know about all this other information that's happening? Another really interesting challenge we have is competition. We're all here because we're interested in Twitter, right? We have nearly 16,000 followers on Twitter right now. Less than 7,000 of those are actually real Washington State residents. The rest of them are all competing for your attention. So how do we also come up with original content that sets us apart from them to make us a trusted source that they want to come to us for the information and not to somebody else. That's a really tough job. We all have a really tough job this late in the game. It's really pretty interesting to see. The other piece we have, the other challenge we have with competition is news agencies. News agencies are clamoring over each other and competing with each other to try to be the first source to get that information out, because people are going to go there. And once you've heard the story and gone to that website and read the story, there's not much need to go to it again unless there's continual updates, right? So how do we make sure the information we put out comes from us first rather than through the news media? Because we're actually going to lose click-throughs on our website, and we're going to lose a little bit of credibility because they're not going to come and find our side of the story or what we need to say. They're going to go to whatever the news media, whatever angle they slant on it. So that's a really interesting challenge to take on.
Bekki, can you tell me a story with TriMet about something that didn't go quite so well regarding social media and how you learned from it?
Well, we've had a couple of challenges and things recently. One thing is that people really want, our riders really want to know service information. They are at a bus stop, they're at a MAX station, and they want to know why their train's not coming. And trying to meet that expectation in a timely fashion, I think, is teaching us how important it is to put resources toward that. And that's something we continue to kind of struggle with, so I wanted to expand on that a little bit. But what we really have seen and have adjusted our strategy with is the kind of inadvertently allowing media or other Twitter users to tell our story and get our messages out. We oftentimes get scooped by other people before we have a chance to respond or put information out ourselves. Others are talking about us. And whether that's related to actual bus and MAX activity or policies regarding the agency, operator behavior, different things that are going on out there, we can, kind of keep in control of our own message is pretty a challenge. One thing we have seen is, and we've adjusted our strategy because of this, is if we've got kind of a negative story or situation out there. For example, we had recently a separation on MAX, a father separated from his child on MAX. That story was out there, and not necessarily painting a great picture for TriMet. We also had some positive stories we wanted to push out that same week that story was in the news. And we ended up holding those stories because we've heard from riders before and had a pretty big backlash that if we're not acknowledging kind of the negative news out there and are always pushing out positive, they see that as disingenuous and not really, don't look at us as necessarily a very credible source, and it's actually pretty annoying because we're not really acknowledging the issue at hand. We're instead just putting out the positive. So we've had to adjust because of that.
Jeremy, do you have a story for us about something that didn't go quite so well and what you learned from it?
So we have, anybody noticed the weather lately? What's with the weather, right? We can all say that. Those weathermen, what's with those guys? How do we still give them credibility? When do you know, how do you know, this is kind of what, this is my big shiny red button. How do you know when to actually push the shiny red button, right? And say, yikes, this is an emergency. In the last, 5 years, I guess, we've had 3 major interstates closed for more than 3 days at a time due to weather information, inclement weather, whether it be flooding or snow. It's just been crazy. But how do you know? We had a couple of situations earlier this year, and any of your local residents, I guess, it's gonna snow, it's gonna snow. We know it's gonna snow at 6 o'clock. All the weather forecasters are telling us it's gonna snow sometime between 4 and 6 p.m. When it snows in the evening commute, it's rough. Everyone's trying to get home. You just want to get home. You want to get home from your job. You want to see your family. You don't want to hinder that for people at all. You want to make sure they can get there and get there safely. Well, the snow never came. 4 o'clock, never came. 5 o'clock, never came. 6 o'clock, a couple of places got a localized inch or so. So how do you go, it's going to snow an inch, when it's just an inch of snow, or it may not be there at all. So trying to find when to actually push the big shiny red button to say, yes, this is the moment you need to be worried about has been a really incredible challenge for us. I just love that shiny red button. One other one I had, Another really interesting lesson we kind of learned and that we've taken really good advantage of is I hear, I pay attention to a lot of people speak about Twitter or whatnot, the influencing the influencers. We've actually taken the time, and I know personally by name, all the people who manage Twitter accounts, because we're essentially a news organization. We have information about roads and the status of roads, and we get that information out. I've taken the time to meet every single person who manages a social media account for a news organization in the greater Puget Sound area. I know them all by name now. And many of them actually call me or contact me and say, hey, we got a question about this story. What do we know? What do we need to know? And that's actually been fantastic, building those relationships on the side to kind of get and help them get our story out and get it out more accurately.
Gonna start with you. Okay. Final official question. Where would you like WSDOT to be in the future regarding social media? What do you have envisioned for us?
It's hard to envision. How would you envision the people who invented Twitter? I mean, how do you envision that this tool would just be so amazing? Honestly, really just being poised and being agile enough to be in a situation where whatever the next tool is, we can take advantage of it and meet people where they are, because they're not coming to our website, they're coming to those sites, wherever they are. The other piece is our standard as a government entity sending out those news releases. Here's a news release, here's a news release, here's a news release. How do we take that piece of information dissemination and bring it to a broader audience rather than directing it to the media to disseminate it out? How do we disseminate it well enough in so many different places? Whereas if I put a tweet out, somebody reads it, wants to go find more, goes to our website, how do we make sure that that content is also up to date there at the same time so that everybody has the big picture that they need? So just that the challenges of disseminating information at any one time is something we're always trying to work on to strive to improve.
Where we want to see our kind of social media presence go is really, especially on Twitter. I mean, we're still kind of evolving with Facebook and what we're using it for. Primarily, it's kind of a positive, sharing of news and promotion of events. But with Twitter, we're really trying to build a community of writers and have a dialogue. We've heard from them that we want to give them what they're asking for, really, which is service information, real time as much as possible. So we want to move in that direction. That's going to require, again, resources. The bodies that are needed to do this kind of work. So we're definitely moving in that direction, or would like to. Showing customers and other Twitter users that we are listening, and so engaging in that dialogue. Again, we have one person right now primarily responsible for responding to Twitter and tweets, and so that's really a challenge to get back in a timely fashion. We've got a lot of customer service questions out there about, hey, why isn't this ticket vending machine working? Or I noticed some garbage at this bus stop. What are you going to do about it? Responding to those in a timely fashion is something we want to be able to do much better. And again, just providing that good customer service. We want folks to really have a good experience with us, whether it's online or out actually riding the system. So I think those are kind of our primary things. Now, obviously, we want to get more converts to public transportation, so continuing that dialogue and providing information that moves people in that direction, I think is where we ultimately want to go.
Unofficial question number one. How many times have you checked the service while you've been here? I'm not allowed to say the T word.
The Twitter?
Yeah.
I have checked it a couple times to see how things are going.
How many times?
I'm not as obsessive as some, so.
Okay, how about you, Jeremy?
I checked it about every 20 minutes throughout the day,
Yeah.
just to make sure and see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. We have some really exciting things happening right now because every year we open the North Cascades Highway, Cayuse Pass, and Chinook Pass, which actually closed down for the winter, and we're actually reopening them. And you'll have to check out our Flickr feed, flickr.com/WSDOT. A mother bear and some baby bears walked across North Cascades Highway today. That's the kind of content we share out of our Twitter. It's something a little more interesting that'll kind of pique your attention. So yeah, I checked it all day.
Just wondering. So we're almost done. I was just going to say a couple things to wrap up. I would encourage people that are tweeting, to their public transportation, their highway board, to remember there's someone behind that account. So, you know, some of the tweets that I've heard of, they're just not very helpful or very nice. So try to remember someone's back there and that they're trying to help, and they don't have 24/7 customer service available, unfortunately. And then I'd also like to invite anyone watching to come visit beautiful Vancouver, Washington. You just can't move here, sorry. Because we're full. So we're gonna stop early since is that okay? Okay.